All right, welcome back to another episode of the Extreme Lifestyle Living. Today's going to be another solo episode with just myself. The reason why I wanted to do a solo episode right now is because I feel like it's really relevant for the conversation about me and fitness. I've been doing a lot of mental health over the last 12 to 14 months, and it's pretty evident to get the podcast here. That's primarily mental health. I did a lot of mental health stuff last year. This year's been more fitness. So just wanted to do an episode of how did I get into fitness? How did I get into mental health? And how did I get into my position that I am in right now? So first and foremost, if you've been watching my clips on the podcast, you've been listening, tuning in, I just got to let you know I appreciate the absolute fuck out of you, each and every single one of you. All the shares, the downloads, the saves, it means so much. I don't put that much effort into the promotion of it and the marketing. I do think about it a lot, I'll be completely honest, but just the love I've received on it and the information and the feedback I've got, it's blowing my mind, to be completely honest, and I'm very humble for it. I'm grateful for it because it means a lot to me, this podcast, just having an outlet to self-express stuff like this, conversations, if you will. I mean, for anyone that wants to listen, and mostly it's just me self-expressing myself, and it just means a lot because all these episodes with all the guests, myself, it comes from the heart. So it just means a lot. So if you tune in every time I post an episode or post a clip or reel or whatever it may be, download those episodes, I really appreciate you, and I just want to let you know it does not go unnoticed, and things are going to get a lot better. I have a lot more stuff coming out. But how did I start with fitness? Where did fitness come in for me? So I am 27 years old right now. I'll be 28 this September this year. And my whole life growing up as a child, I just knew I was a smaller kid. It just was inevitable. I was just one of the smaller kids, and I didn't have many athletic abilities. In fact, even in elementary, I remember most of the time if we played tag or grounders, anything along the lines of me having to run, I just wasn't conditioned for it. I'd be out of shape, but most of the time I'd fall and trip. It was just crazy. It just wasn't athletic. I just didn't have these abilities. And being adopted to my grandmother, I was more of bubble wrapped, right? Because I mean, they're just how grandparents are, right? They more of keep their eye on you, make sure you're doing well. So, and I didn't mind that, honestly, as a kid. I was a very shy and timid kid, and I just didn't really like being in big crowds for whatever reason. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but just I like to stick to myself as a kid. So that didn't pair well with when you start to get to older ages, especially junior high. So grade 7, I remember grade 7, I started junior high, and I was literally 4'9", and everyone else, so I would have been 12 starting grade 7, because I started school early, so I was a little bit earlier than everybody else, which didn't help me being a male, which we'll go and talk about that in a minute. But I remember in grade 7, I started junior high. I was 4'9". Everyone else is talking about, I'm 5'4". Some kids had their growth spurts and were fucking 6'1", and I'm like, damn. You had the kids that had the mustaches, the facial hair. I'm 12 years old, 4'9", still thinking about fucking Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, and I got some of these kids over there talking about trying to talk to girls. If they're playing the basketball team, they're talking about I can't wait to go to another junior high and see who's over there. I'm like, bro, what? I didn't even, my mind couldn't comprehend there was even another junior high with other kids. I was so young, so naive, so immature. And then, honestly, I just started I stayed in the house a lot, really. Grade 7, I hung out with a lot of people. Wasn't really just kind of gravitated in different directions, right? As every kid in junior high does, you have so many different diverse friend groups. You have a couple of elementaries coming together. So grade 8, I immediately just got into online video games. I was always a gamer, an avid gamer, sitting in the house playing, growing up, like I said earlier. I wasn't like when I was 7, 8, 6, 9. Didn't really play sports and stuff. I was more of a homebody. I like to play, like to draw a lot, self-expression that way. Did a lot of arts and crafts, did a lot of video games. But grade 8 particularly, I started playing Call of Duty. Played online, and I played every goddamn fucking day. Every single fucking day I played we go to school at 2:50. Went home. I got home around after you eat and stuff around 3:30, and I'd play that bitch until midnight every night for the majority of the year. And I still to this day have these friends online. Still got their family, right? It's funny, but the reason why I'm saying this about the fitness journey and stuff is because I want to premise that I want to give you guys or anyone that's listening or just for whatever helps the story. Like I never for people because people prejudge a lot these days, especially with how I look now and how I carry myself. And a lot of it's crazy because like this is the real life story. Grade 8, I sat in the house every single day, played Call of Duty. I was like ranked high in the world. I remember I used to I used to argue with other kids from different schools, especially in high school, early high school, when I was because I wouldn't take it competitively. I like to play on my own free will. Like still, that's a big trait of mine: stubbornness, doing my thing at my own pace. Everyone that's close to me knows that's a huge trait of mine. But even back then, like playing the games, like if you had to be part of like anything more than like, pub games, public matches, you had to like be on a routine, a schedule, part of something more. And I just didn't like the idea of being told when I could play. And that's literally what my excuse was back then, which is so funny because that's such a testament to who I am as a person today. But anyways, played that every single day. Started literally just never had no idea, left the house. And then Julian, my boy, my brother, everyone knows you see Jew, you see Trey, you see Trey, you see Jew, this is my boy. He was living in North Carolina at the time. So Xbox Live, we were on the mic every fucking day and we chatted every day. He'd be playing Guitar Hero, we played Call of Duty together. And we just talked every day and then we just became close as fuck. He moved home in grade 9. So grade 9, I'm still playing the game every fucking day. He comes over, he's like, get the fuck out the house. And he just fucking sits beside me and just puts his fucking arm around me. He says, you're not going nowhere. We were boys ever since. And that's the fucking story of Trey and Jew. And it's so funny. But that's when he started getting me into the moving outside and doing shit. I wasn't sitting in the house, being like a little soft marshmallow, if you will. And this is when I really started to notice, okay, how inferior of a man I started to feel. Not because of him. I don't want to sit there blaming on Julian. It's not that at all. But it's just like I was in the real world now. I was playing with kids that have been playing sports their whole life, coming with a lot of diverse like demographics, like tall, thin, strong, weak, like everything up and down and in between. And it was mind blowing to me, like just like all these sports, some of these people, like Julian, for example, like not even just to gas him up because he's my brother, but he was in every sport you could do. He was playing basketball all the time, high school football, basketball, rugby. And then there's me. So grade 9, we started going to the gym and he took me to the gym. And I'll never forget the very first fucking time I went to the gym. And, oh man, it's so funny. So this is going to be really funny for a lot of people to hear, especially if anyone like is following me closely and thinks of me in a certain light of being how I look or how I perceive myself now, as if like this was me my whole life. So a grade 9, I think I was 13, turning 14 or 14, turning, I don't know, I don't know. But I was young, put it that way. And yeah, it would have been 13, turning 14. So went to the gym. First time I ever went to the gym. We were doing the chest press on like the FitFix machine or like one of the machine circuit or whatever you want to call them. And I remember every single set, I almost passed out. Every single set. Because I was just trying to like, of course, these guys are going to push me as hard as they fucking can. Do a weight. Like I've never been in the gym. Never done a push-up, none of this shit unless it was in like elementary class. Like most of my physical abilities was outside in the snow, which was not much because I went outside for 20 minutes, got gas, went in the house. Literally stormy seas, scooters, like my fitness journey was not much before these days. So first day ever in the gym, I'm pressing this bitch as hard as I fucking can. Doing it as hard as I can, doing like pushing it. I'm getting lightheaded, can't stand. We're just like, I'm literally about to pass the fuck out. So we do a couple machines. This happens to me and like, like these guys are saying, yeah, that's normal for your first time. Just breathe. I'm like, okay. Like I'm just going to kind of get through it. Then we go to the bench press. And I'm like, okay, I don't even know what the fuck this thing is, this bench press. These guys, they put, I think they put a 25-pound plate on. Because meanwhile, we're 13, right? 13, 14, 25-pound plate on. They do a couple reps and stuff, do their thing. Then they put on like a 35. I think Julian even did a plate at this point. Julian and Shaka, the motherfuckers, like, wasn't for much, but still, it's like, from the lifestyle growing up, just fucking being so outside and aggressive and just being like, just so wholesome as a child. and just being, like, just so true to your childhood, just being outside and where you were is what you were. So it was playing with rocks, you out there wrestling in the field, it just was. That's what it was, but you guys are just strong as fuck. And then I my turn. It was my turn to bench press, and they put the 225s on. I think I did the bar a couple times, and I was just like, it was like wobbly, like fucking Bambi. Like it was insane. I'll never forget it. But 25-pound plate goes on. So these guys, 95 pounds. I will never forget the second we unracks this thing flies down, hits my chest. I lose all my breath, and I just start fucking wheezing. And these guys start laughing, and then they grab it, pull it up. And I swear that was the first time I've ever stepped foot in a gym and I benched. But I remember since that day happened, and I literally the next day how sore I was, I felt it in my arms, my triceps, my chest. Felt like I was literally, I was gonna say hit by a car, but that'll come later on in the conversation. But I would just remember that soreness, but how good I felt. Like I just felt so fucking good. It was like, I mean, I don't want to sit there and say I've done crack, but it was like just a fucking crack. I felt like a crackhead. Like I was like, I need this every single fucking day. I don't give a fuck what happens. This is my thing. And we went to the YMCA a lot, down in Akerley, YMCA a lot, and down in Akerley. But it was hard to get there. Like, just like, without going in like this crazy story, like just from where we came from and not having transportation and lack of finances and tools and resources, it was hard to get there consistently with everyone's schedule. And like, just to be straight out blunt with it, just finances and transportation. Like, we just didn't have that luxury growing up in this regard at that young. So, unfortunately, I went probably like 4 to 6 months and then it was cut off for a bit. But next year in grade 10, the later years in grade 10, I lived in Ontario. So when I started, I went to Dartmouth High School in grade 10, which would have been 2010. I didn't really go to school much within the first like semester, which was swine flu went around. I got swine flu, and I think that put me down for like 2 weeks. That was really bad, I think, at the time. But during that time, I got my wisdom teeth out as well. So I was out for like, I think like almost a week for that. So in grade 10, I almost missed like a month for that aspect as well. And I was having a lot of trouble at home. And I was really unhappy at home, to be honest. Like, and me and my grandmother had a conversation. And long story short, it was to move to Toronto with my mother and my brothers and try living with those guys for a bit. 'Cause I love them. I miss them. Like, those guys are my soul. They know that. Love them all. And that was just a conversation. So like, I cut the semester short early in grade 10, moved to Toronto, lived with my mom and my brothers. And again, another big active lifestyle. My brothers, like DJ, gifted athlete. At the time, my youngest brother, Lulu, he was a little bit too young. So he wasn't really playing too many sports. He was more so in the house, kind of fucking around with video games and stuff. But DJ, gifted fucking athlete. Anyone that knows DJ, like, this guy's 6'3", 220 pounds. Like, he's just a solid brick. Like, that's just him. He was always in the newspaper quite a bit for football. Like, played rugby, loved rugby. Was flown out to Alberta to do a camp with Team Canada rugby, stuff like that. Was gonna go to university for St. FX and all this stuff like that. And he's a successful plumber now, found his passion. But yeah, nonetheless, was like phenomenally gifted physically. And then there was me. So when I moved there, I wasn't too far off from the grade 9, right? That was about a year later. Again, I was a late bloomer. I hit puberty later than everybody. Like, started talking to girls later than everybody. The whole 9 yards. I did like 2 years later than everybody. Because not only was I like a year younger than most people in my grade, most of my friends were just happening to be older as well. So like, there was a 2.5, 3 year age gap between me and my friends. So when I was like, even when I was 19, like, everyone was trying to go to the bars 19, 20. I was still 17, 18. There's a lot of times I had to go home or we had to stay at the house. But when I moved to Toronto in grade 10, the schooling up there is absolutely insane compared to Nova Scotia. I mean, back then, at least, I can't compare them now. It's been, what is it? Yeah, it's been over 10 years. Yeah, over 10, Jesus Christ. Whew, over 10 years. Pardon my language. Damn, over 10 years. Over 10 years since I've been to high school in Toronto. And fun fact, actually, the guy that directed Avatar went to Stanford Collegiate High School. So that's fun fact. Actually, Avatar came out there. We actually had a whole day. We actually went to the gymnasium and watched Avatar, which was kind of dope. I think I just cut half the day short, went home. But Anyways, so grade 10, I go into gym class, and I think it's gonna be like a fucking gym class down here in Nova Scotia, and it's like stormy seas and shit. Meanwhile, I've never had a gym class in a Nova Scotia high school, so I don't know exactly what it's like. But from what I can gather from my friends and feedback, it's nothing too special. Most of them skipped anyways. But in Toronto, this was like a whole fucking shebang on steroids. It was like a gym class where you had every Friday was anatomy class where you learned about the body and physiology. Monday was a cardiovascular test of some sort. Tuesday was a small cardiovascular test of some sort. Wednesdays was open for that changed. Thursdays was called the Stanford Collegiate Hornet. So the first part of your class was a circuit, and then Fridays was the class learn it. So for rewind a year when I had that 25-pound plate fall on my chest. Well, not fall, but like, you know what I mean? And then fast forward a year, I'm into this gym class. I was like a kid in a fucking candy shop. I was like, let's fucking go. So this is literally, I got cold chills right now because this is like a dream come true. I was 13, I was 13, I think 14 years old, 14. And I was just thrown into this class at school. I was going to school with my brothers. Like I was living with my mom, like everything was brand new. I mean, I missed all my friends, don't get me wrong. But then in this class, I get to, and Monday, I'm doing like, I remember some Mondays were the Niagara Falls runs. I had to run from my high school to Niagara Falls, and then they drive us back up. But however long it took you to get there, if you got there, so that the class was, I think, 90 minutes or 60 minutes. So if we did that in 20 minutes, we had the remainder of the class to go work out in the gym freely. And when this was happening, they always had the football coaches, because again, in Ontario, they have more athletic programs. So they had more tools and resources for me to get Olympic lifts in grade 10, for me to get mobility in grade 10, for me to get strength and conditioning in grade 10. So this is where a lot of my background started to gather so early in my age, because when I was doing all this, I would literally do a 20-minute run to Niagara Falls, so work my cardiovascular, get a drive back to the class, and then I'd go in and work out with like the football squad or just like random people in there, because like there'd be a lot of athletes going in there on top of the football. So like just all the athletes in there, and they would help everyone that would want to help, because like we would be like the water boys, right? Like we'd run, rack the weights and stuff like that. But yeah, so like I would start working out like every day for almost like, so literally, what is it? The semester's 4 months. And then so 4 months, I would just hit the gym like probably 3 days a week. But on top of the gym 3 days a week, I was doing like 4 circuits a week, because every Thursday was Stanford Collegiate Hornet. So what the Hornet was it was a 5x5 circuit. So you did 5 rounds of 5 exercises, 5 times. So you had to go from one side of the gym, down and back, do 10 burpees, down and back, 10 push-ups, down and back, V-sits, down and back, plank for like 30 seconds, or wall, like it was always repetitions, not time. And then it was like medicine ball slams, and then down and back, 10 jumping jacks. And that was one. You had to do that 5 times as fast as you could every Thursday. And they tracked your time to see how fast you get. And which was fucking sick. And then, but however fast you finished it, you had to go into the gym afterwards. So this is what I did every day for 4 months. And then every Friday we went and did class. We did classwork where we were learning about the muscles, hypertrophy, like strength and conditioning, metabolisms, foods, nutrients, fats, carbs, proteins. So like, and I remember I was marked highly in that. Like, I'm not to sit there and like chew my own horn and be arrogant. Like I remember I was marked highly because I was fucking head over heels for this fucking class. But that was literally how grade 10 happened. So my athleticism happened. And even the cool thing too was shout out Julian. Like he came up in, his dad actually lived in Toronto. And March break, he flew up. His aunt, shout out Aunt Robin. Aunt Robin came and picked us up and picked me up in Niagara Falls. And me and Julian went to the YMCA, just like in the Akeley days in grade 9, but in the heart of Toronto. With just me and Julian and his family. It was fucking sick. So that's how my grade 10 year goes. I'm into the gym heavy. I learned a lot, and I remember summertime comes around, and I fly back home down here to Nova Scotia, because obviously, like up there, I loved it, but I miss my friends, right? Like me and Julian, like we were still best friends. Like it was funny because me and Julian, a lot of our friendships from afar, like long distance friendships, but we were always right hand men. And so I moved home. I was like, oh, I want to just hang with the boys. You know what I mean? Hang with my friends, like just kind of like at that. I was going into grade 11. Like everyone remembers their high school year. You want to be part of more. You know what I mean? You don't want to miss out on anything with your friends. You're hearing stories, you're hearing things. And I was like, had to make a bunch of new friends. And don't get me wrong, I made a lot of friends. I had a lot of fucking fun. Actually, like, for the longest time, to be completely transparent, I regretted moving back here to Nova Scotia, like, because again, leading up to grade 11, like, we'll talk about it in a minute, about the car accident, but I had a lot of regrets because, like, my brothers, right? Like, me and DJ had a pretty bad falling out when I moved home from miscommunication and other politics, but, like, it was a really hard decision for me because it was like, I loved it in Toronto. I made a lot of fucking good friends, like, very well-connected friends. Like, these guys are very successful people now, high educations. And I just was doing so much physically, felt so good, right? But again, your friends, what do you do at that age? You don't want to miss out, right? Like you don't want to just don't want to be you just don't want to miss out, period. Like you're a kid. So I move home. I didn't even move home. I just came home for the summer. And then like I just got so wrapped up in just being a kid and just like the first time I drank, first time I smoked, first time I did anything with anybody. Like literally, like, it was just, like, the first time, like, anything happened, so, like, I was like, "Fuck it," I was riding that high, rode that high into high school, into grade 11, and just started, like, being a typical high school kid, teenager, and just kinda doing my thing, and, I don't think I was really going to the gym that much, so I don't wanna, like, get too off the story because this is more of a fitness, like, related podcast episode, so I, was always going to the gym in the Y, right? Because like, Julian was there, he played a lot of sports and stuff, like, throughout the summer, we went to the Y a lot, like, because his brother was home, so shout out Jeff, and Jeff at this time was in, Bishop's University or Champlain's, college, so he was, again, like, at that point when I'm doing the, yeah, again, this is a key part to why, I guess, some people for the gym, yeah, like, so when Jeff came home, he was doing a lot of Olympic lifts, like power cleans, snatches, clean and jerks, lot of, like, crazy stability work on Bosu balls, but it was all Olympic lifts for, like, strength and conditioning for his football work because he was, like, a gifted athlete in that regard. He almost, I'm pretty sure there's a couple things that with the, CFL that were on the plate at the time, but yeah, so, like, even in the gym at that time, like, I would have been doing, like, a lot of the Olympic lifts are being forced to, yeah, because that would have been the same time that I remember I went to the gym, that was the first time I ever ran at full capacity because I was sitting on the treadmill, and, like, again, we're going back to this is only grade 11, and I already told you all my fitness journey so far, so I did some running down in, like, don't get me wrong, in Toronto and stuff, but, like, it was at my own pace, you know what I mean? Like, and I remember Jeff sat there, he kept putting it up. He kept putting it up and making me run until he seen me running at full capacity. And I remember looking at him like, bro, like, I'm gonna fucking die. And I remember I used to use my asthma as an excuse for so many people because I got away with it as a child. Like, if you didn't want to do nothing, like, I can't run, I got asthma. And they're like, okay, you sit out. So I was a bitch with that excuse a lot. But when he just got on there, and I think he put it up to like 7.0, and it was the first time I ever ran at 7.0 in the treadmill, and I was fucking just hauling ass. So that was, like, kinda, like, leading into grade 11 as well, just that type of fitness background, but anyways, was just, this is where it kinda gets dark, honestly. I just was chilling as a kid, going to school, high school. I would've just turned 16 in September in grade 11. Yeah, 16 just in, grade 11, and I literally was just the same route every day that I took to school. I used to get a drive with my neighbor, and, just one day, I just get in the car, we take the exact same route as we do every single morning, and this time, we're just in a car accident. We get up to the stop sign. Well, there's a different driver this time, and, there's a lot of, emotional bullshit I could throw at this one, but it's so irrelevant, there's no point in even discussing it because it's all hearsay. It's all like, if that, what if this, that this, but there was a new driver that was driving, it was the neighbor's friend, and when we pulled up to the stop sign, she looked left, and, the guy was letting us go. So, like, I mean, for a quick story, anyone that knows Dartmouth, it was coming up Victoria to go to Woodland. So there's a street we cross, call it Slater, just to beat the morning traffic to go to Dartmouth High from North End Dartmouth. And, because you can't turn left during the morning traffic or you'll get a ticket, which I got one before. But we were just cutting across, and, she looked left, the guys on the left were like, "Yeah, you're good to go." But she didn't look right, and she just fucking gunned it. And there's 4 of us in the car. Uh, Kathleen is in the front, Michael was in the back left with me. I was in the right passenger rear, on the back of the car passenger side. And we were hit on my side. I'd say probably 60% of me, 40% Kathleen, and then just T-boned. So when that happened, like, apparently I yelled and said, "Stop, stop," because I seen the truck coming, but we were in a 96 or 94 Honda Civic, and we were hit by a 2006 Ford Explorer, and I didn't have my seatbelt on. And thankfully I didn't, because they said if I did, I would have been killed on like immediately through the impact because of the way we were hit. I would have like at this point, this Honda Civic was, I think, a year or two before you could have the airbags in it in the cars and in this part. Because I think the issues, I think the report said it was like 1997 is when they started getting into the cars in 1996, and we were like 1 or 2 years right before that. So if I had my seatbelt on, I would have got T-boned and it would have killed me instantly from the impact. But since I did not, what happened was the force of the truck hitting the car, forced Kathleen's seat in front of me to move back and jam my legs with the center console a little bit. But my upper body was hit from the side on my right side, and I flew to the left side and kind of came back to the right side, but my legs being kind of stuck. So I got a severe concussion from that. I was knocked unconscious. I was like, I didn't know the consciousness almost like 3 or 4 times. This is when I like tore my rotator cuff essentially because I got hit on my right side. And at this point, I did not know I had a hernia. But for anyone that doesn't know what a hernia is, it's when your intestines come through your abdominal wall. And that would have been from the pressure of getting hit. The impact would have like just blew. Honestly, that's fucked up as it sounds. Just blew a little hole in my abdominal wall. So at this point, I'm sitting in the car. I just texted my girlfriend at the time, and I'm like, "Yo, like we just got hit. I'm so confused." I reach out to Michael. Michael's sitting there, like he's like, I don't want to like again. I don't want this to sound bad, but he was standing. He was good to go. He seemed relatively fine. And I remember reaching out to his hand. I'm like, bro, like don't fucking leave me. And I was bawling my eyes out. And shout out Michael. I still got a lot of love for him. He's a brother. And but like it was just blown. Like that's a side story, just mind blowing about how injured I was and how injured Kathleen was. But the two people on the other side were completely fine because we absorbed most of them, like all the impact from the truck. Thankfully, like I guess like to be completely honest, I'd rather two of us be hurt instead of all four of us. Completely honest. The other two walked away. Like I remember, I think Michael was pretty okay for that weekend, and me and Kathleen were bedridden for 4 fucking weeks. But I wake up in the car. I'm like kind of confused and dazed. Obviously, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then I remember I couldn't really move out of the car because I wanted to make sure my spine wasn't broke. And I remember at this point, the fire people are there, or the fire trucks are there, and they have the jaws of life, and they have all these fucking big ass equipment, and they can't get my door open because it's been smashed by the fucking truck. And so they throw a white blanket over my head, and they're like, "Yo, like we got to do this because we got to cut the door off, like." And there's gonna be a lot of sparks. So I'm like sitting there, I'm like, there's no fucking way you're gonna put a blanket on my head. Like I just got hit by a truck. I don't know what the fuck's going on. You're gonna throw a white blanket on my head and say, yo, you're good? And I remember immediately I was pointing at the other door. I was like, no, like, can we go at this door? Like, just fucking get me out this door. And so what they did, they brought the stretcher in the other side because my legs are pinned at this point. Like they're stuck in the chair. And I remember Kathleen too. God fucking love her heart. Like, just I remember looking up, and these are a lot. I got cold chills right now, to be completely honest. Like it's a surreal fucking story that you can't get over, but things happen for a reason. I'm very grateful for all the things I went through with this because I wouldn't be who I am without it. But I remember like looking up, and I remember just like I think I like tapped her on the shoulder or something, just kind of like giving her recognition or something, and being like, yo, like, you're gonna be good. And I remember like they put the stretcher in, and I just had enough energy to like lift my ass up, and they could get it under. And I just kind of leaned to the side, and then they could kind of just twist. They kind of like dragged me out a little bit. Thankfully, they could just drag me out with the stretcher, and then they brought me into the ambulance. And then it's funny how you remember random shit about this, like big trauma events like this, because I remember they were like, "Can you move?" Like we'll have to cut your pants because like they had to cut my pants off to like just to check me out to make sure I was good. And I remember I had my favorite pants on at the time because I bought them in Toronto, and I remember back in when I was in 2010s and I was in high school, like if you could get clothes from Toronto, you were the man. So I was just like, no, you can't cut these pants. Like I really love them. They were $10 from a fucking outlet in Toronto, and then down fucking Nova Scotia would be like $89.99 for these pants. And I remember I could lift myself up. Thank God. Like I honestly, like I'll talk about my injuries in a second, but yeah, we'll talk about all of that in a second. But I lift up, he takes the pants off, checks me out, and I'm good to go. And then, honestly, that's all it is. We just go to the hospital. I'm just laying on the stretcher for a bit. I remember I'm complaining because my neck was fucking killing me. Like, I remember, like, even doing this podcast right now, sitting here, talking to you, recording this episode, like, I still have neck discomfort. This is just something that I've been diagnosed with that we'll get into here in a second. But then we just go to the hospital, they sit there, and I remember when my grandmother came in. and, I felt her hand. I'll never forget that feeling how because my grandmother has always had really soft hands, and I remember I felt her hand, and I just started fucking bawling. Started bawling my eyes out, and I started really realizing what I've been through, and, all day in the hospital. So this is at this point there, I got at the hospital, like, 9:20 in the morning, like, 9 in the morning, and, they try to make you move every 2 or 3 hours, just to make sure you're good, and I remember every time I tried to move, it was like I was gonna power puke my guts up. I couldn't even like, my whole body just felt like I was just, like, swollen. It was crazy. My leg, like, I walked with a limp probably for 4 weeks. I had, in high school and the rest of the high school for, like, 3 months after that. I had, like, an extra 5 minutes between each period to get to class because like, I was limping and it was hard. But I was always in good spirits, and that's a turning point that I wanna make a note on because I remember even when I was ready to leave the hospital, like, I was making jokes about how fast I could limp around the office or how fast I could, limp around the unit because I don't know, it's just like, it is what it is, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, like, I just always kinda had that attitude, and this is one thing that I wanna make note of it, all this physical pain that I'm about to talk about and all this shit like that is because I've been through a lot as a child mentally, and I'm not saying that as me specifically, like everybody has to some degree, but the things I was blessed with a sense of awareness that things weren't meant to be certain ways, and I'm just very fortunate to always have that perspective for whatever reason. But everything I've seen growing up from the drug abuse, the alcoholism, just the manipulation between family members, the financial hardships, like just all the stuff we've seen, not to blame anyone specific because it's accumulation of things. It's just I just mentally been through a lot. So when I got into the car accident, the physical pain, I didn't like it was just like this was just another notch in the belt. This is just something else I was gonna have to deal with. So I was always in good spirits. I was alive. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just that's just how I felt. Like I was like I was supposed to be dead. I was supposed to be dead sitting there, and that even came out in the lawyer's report if we had because we were battling before with like when you do these things, you have to decide if you go to trial or not. So when I seen the actual report for myself about with the lawyers' signatures and all the shit like that, there in bold letters, it was like my full government name should have been dead if I was to wear the seatbelt. So I was just happy to be alive. You know what I mean? So they send you home, and that was literally it. I was bedridden for 3 weeks, and then 3 months after that, I was still moving and walking around. I tore my right rotator cuff. I got severe damage to my like thoracic spine. I got a hernia, so that shut off my pelvic floor. I was diagnosed pretty much with chronic neck pain, lumbar pain, thoracic pain. The physio said I was never going to be able to overhead press, deadlift, bench press, or any pretty much compound movement. I was never going to be able to do just based on my injuries. And so I even did physio 3 times a week for 8 months leading up after the accident. I did massage therapy 3 times a week for 5 weeks. I have to do the chiropractor once a month minimum. I was diagnosed with that. I did 2 different psychologists to make sure, like a neurologist to make sure, like mentally I was good with the concussions. And all these symptoms I was left with was I was diagnosed with, excuse me, diagnosed with PTSD symptoms for depression and anxiety from the car accident, diagnosed with OCD symptoms because of the concussion that I received, and never to overhead press, never to bench press, and never to deadlift and squat because of my just the pain. Because after all the physio and all the corrections, they just couldn't figure out how to piece me together. This was in grade 11, so this isn't even before I start grade 12. So this sounds like a lot. So this may sound like a lot for a lot of people, but honestly, this was just I was just taking it on the chin every single day. Like, what are you supposed to do? Like, so immediately grade 12 comes around. I shit you not, there was not an option. I did not miss the gym. The second that I could start going to the gym, I started going. Grade 12, walked around. I switched my schedule around to do half days because you could do co-ops. So I did half days, and I spent half days in the fucking gym. No questions asked. And the craziest part about this is just how my fitness journey was. I did not stop. I got jacked as fuck in grade 10, had a lot of confidence, learned a lot about the physiology and just like the athleticism of some things. And then I got hit by a truck, and then it is what it is. And like, I just never fucking stopped. All of my training switched to recovery and rehab. So in 2011, that's when that started changing. So in grade 12 to the first year of college, I went to the gym every single fucking day, 4 to 6 times a week, depending on injuries. Because there was multiple times I pulled my back and I'd be out for 4 days. There'd be multiple times I've had a migraine and I had to lay in the tub with a fucking blanket or a wet towel on my head. Like, there's a lot of things that people do with this pain that no one knows about. But I just didn't know what it was like without it. And that's the thing that took me years to figure out was I didn't know that everyone else that went to the gym wasn't in excruciating pain. I didn't know that if someone did front squats or back squats that they didn't go home and had to sit in the tub, Epsom salt tub bath for 45 minutes. Like I just didn't think of these things out. There's not negotiable. My mental trauma was worse than the physical trauma, and the gym saved me mentally. So as there's not negotiable, I gotta fucking get there. And that's been like that. That's why when we'll lead up to the story in a second, when I ended up tearing my pec and breaking my hand and I couldn't go to the gym at all. That's why I really had a bad thing. That was more, I feel like that was mentally more draining than the car accident, to be completely honest. But so grade 12 to my first year in college, when I went to NSCC, like I went to the gym every single fucking day, as much as I could with as much knowledge as I could. I started reading up as many bodybuilding things online as I could, like what supplements to take. I started getting in like the amino acids, the BCAAs, the fat burners, like, you know what I mean? More of like the holistic approach. Like I was trying everything, you know what I mean? Natural fat burners, CLA, L-carnitine, raspberry ketones, like Garcinia Cambodia. I was like, okay, like buying into the marketing, to be completely fucking honest. But so I'm still dicking around in the gym. And my favorite part about this, and it's like a lot of my boys know this. The most recent I can think of is Conor McGregor, because I'm going to his physio right now. But him, I used to see him in the sports flex all the time during these times. A lot of my boys, and in fact, a lot of people I still to this day see in the gym. When I was going to the sports flex during grade 12, my first year of college, a lot of these people talk to me now and don't realize that I am that guy that they were talking to back then. And I love that part about my transformation and my journey, because I've been doing this for a long time. And it's not arrogance, it's confidence, because I've literally been doing this. You guys are following along my journey. This is all, it's completely real. There's receipts, if you will. But first year of college, I'm just going to the gym as much as I can. And during this time, this is the crazy part that a lot of us have went through, is you turn 19. You start drinking, you go to bars, you start going downtown. Now, I was a smaller kid, like I tested earlier. So I wanted to get as big as I possibly could. So what does every fucking naive male do? He gets a mass gainer. So I bought mass gainers. That's Supplement King, Shadow Supplement King. And I started drinking mutant mass to get an extra like 1,100 calories in a day. But during this time, I turned 19. So as you turn 19, you start getting drunk, blackout drunk, obviously. Like I had, that's just what I was doing, getting blackout drunk, drinking way too much, eating a lot of food on top of taking these mass gainers. So within like 3-4 months of doing this, I gained a shit ton of weight. I even got stretch marks on my hips. I have a posted video on my Instagram just for that. Like, and then that's when that was a big turning point for me, because I was like, I felt personally, I was like, I'm giving it my absolute all. I'm going to the gym 5, 6, 7 times a week. I think I'm watching my food, and all I was doing for watching my food was, literally all I was doing for watching my food was not eating takeout, staying away from sugary drinks, not eating chocolate bars and chips. And it's like, I did lose like almost 10, 15 pounds by doing that at the beginning, but then you just find different vices. You find different things to get yourself into. So I hit a turning point. And like I said, the gym saved me mentally. So when I was 19, like after all the car accident, all the pain, started to realize some other things about my life. Like the girl I was dating at the time, like we knew that it was a dying relationship. And there was just like a big turning point. And I just remember I was just like, man, like, what am I going to do? Like I started feeling like really hopeless, because I already moved out at this point. Like, and that's a different story. Like I wasn't living home. I already moved out in grade 11, near the end of grade 11 after the car accident. I moved out. So I've been living on my own since like technically 16, 17. And, so at this point I was 19, already doing that for 3 years. So I was like, what am I supposed to do now? Right. So like, we're just dying relationship, da, 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 da. Like the position I was in that part of my life, I was just like, I felt hopeless a little bit. And I remember I looked myself in the mirror and I was like, want to know what? I was like, fuck it. Like, I'm going to get an online coach. I don't give a fuck how much it costs. And I'm going to just put my head to the ground. And because I'm not going to say I was suicidal, but there's definitely points in my life where I was like, man, is it worth it? Is this worth it? You know what I mean? And this is being completely transparent, because again, like I have a lot of stuff coming out over the next few months, and I got to practice what I preach. And this is the vulnerable aspect of my journey. And this is the harsh reality of it. But the harsh reality doesn't have to be harsh, because it's not. It's just the reality of it. And I'm turning a negative into a positive, and I'm very thankful for everything I've been through. But I hit my turning point, and I was like, listen, I looked myself in the mirror. I'll never forget this day. It was 2014. You can go back to my Instagram. It was like October 1st to November 1st to December 1st. And right before October 1st, it was after my birthday. So I think I would have turned 20 maybe? I don't fucking know. But I was just like, I'm gonna get an online coach and I'm gonna give him my all for the 60 days of this. And if I can change my body in these 60 days with this guy's guidance, then I know I can change my mentality. That's literally what I said to myself in 2013, 14, when second year of college. I was like, if I can change my body drastically within the next 60 days, that will give me enough hope that'll give me enough faith that I can change my mentality. So what I did is I bought a coach online. I don't want to say I got scammed, but I definitely went balls to the wall. I definitely did way too much than I should have. And I paid probably over the course of the 2 months, probably $3,000 Canadian for like a meal plan, a workout plan. But I bought all of his supplements lines. I bought his fat burner, the whole 9 yards, you know what I mean? Fanboying hard. And, but the crazy part about this is during these 2 months, I lost 35 pounds. So I went from literally, I can't even remember. I think it was like 190 or something like that, 192, 193, which was chubby for me. Because again, I didn't have that much muscle mass. You guys heard my whole story this whole time. And I had a bowl cut essentially at the beginning of this journey too. Did not really know what to do with my hair, but I just didn't get my hair cut ever because that's a different story. But I just was like, fuck it, I'm just not getting my hair cut, and I didn't. So at the end of this 2 months, I ended up putting my hair up in a shitty bun, like it was a nasty bun, but it was just to get it on my hair while I was in the gym. But I was like, didn't look at myself these whole 2 months because, like I said, I was waiting till the end. I did not look at myself, did not judge myself. This is a different story, but I actually developed a very bad negative self-talk during this time. But I literally was like, I'm just gonna give it my all for 60 days. And when I looked up in those 60 days, I was literally shredded to the fucking bone and had a man bun, and no one knew who I was. And that's real. That is completely what happened. And like, I'm very fortunate for my life to take that drastic turn. And that's as simple as it is. I lost 32 pounds, followed a proper program, learned a shit ton about nutrition, cut out all the negative habits that I was doing, and then literally lost 32 to 35 pounds and got a man bun and changed my life. Leading up to the man bun and getting shredded, like when I started this sports flex, my first goal was to get a bicep vein. Like that's literally what my first goal was too. Was like I just want to get in here, get a bicep vein, and next thing you know, I'm shredded to the bone, and that's what it is. So during this time, I go through another kind of stint of like moving out. So I moved back in with my mom, because the girl I was dating at the time said that I was going, quote unquote, going to the gym too much. So she had different plans for herself. And what I mean by that is, I'm not going to go in here and start again talking about anybody, but she wanted to talk to other people and she was doing so. So I was like, this is not what I want. So I broke it off. And a lot of it was mutual, but I'm pretty confident there's a lot more stuff that was under that rug. So when it broke clean and it was done with me. Bygones be bygones. So I moved home, and then it was 2015 after I got shredded and got my man bun kind of established what I wanted to get. Still had this hernia. And at this point, this hernia was fucking horrible. It was pretty bad, and I knew I needed to get done. But the reason why I didn't get it done in 2011 was because at that time, there wasn't a good procedure to get it done efficiently. It was just straight up cut you in half pretty much and fucking you're out for 4 to 6 months. Like, if anyone wants to hear any of the old stories about like athletes and people like that get those and how long they're out for the seasons. Like, so at 16 years old, and I remember like the doctor looking at me saying, because at the time I remember seeing it was just a tiny little bump. He was like, listen, a kid, you're young, like at your age, like you probably don't want to get surgery and be out for like 6 to 8 months, like very discomfort, like a lot of discomfort, sorry. So I was like, whatever, I'm not going to get it done. Didn't get it done. And then over the course of like lifting, by 2015, it was horrible. So I just moved home with my mom, and new perspective on life. I was like, okay, cool. I'm single, just moving home with my mom. First time I'm living with family. I'm 21 at the time. And I'm like, let me get my life on track. So I switched gyms, started going to Good Life Fitness. And I found a coach within that gym that was a quote unquote a local legend at the time. And reached out to him, was like, yo, like I'm undergoing hernia surgery. I want to have a plan that the second that I get back from this gym, get back and get ready to go to the gym. Like I want to have a plan. I want to do a mock camp for a competition because I wanted to compete. And at this point, I didn't have the confidence to like, I guess I didn't believe I just didn't believe myself that I could step on stage. So I wanted to do a mock trial. So I came to him, did a couple diets with him, and within like 4 to 6 months, he was like, let's do Atlantics. So meanwhile, I'd had my hernia surgery September 15th of 2015. My birthday September 21st. So like for 14 days, because I had 14 days, you can't move. You can't do absolutely fucking nothing. They do a microscopic way and they just go behind all the muscles and put mesh and blah, 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 blah. Disgusting. I do not wish this procedure on anybody or hernia, anything. It's fucking really sucks. But within 14 days, I was back in the gym. That's what I want to let people know is because like you fucking just got to get after it. Like 14 days, the 15th day I was in the gym trying to bench. Could not bench at all. I tried doing a plate incline. Because at this point, I could bench a plate like easily, right? Like thank fuck I was like in the gym heavy, but it was hard. So long story short, like take 4 to 6 months to get comfortable back in the gym. And then I do Atlantic. So anyone that doesn't know what Atlantic's, it's Atlantic Canada competition. And everyone in Atlantic Canada can do it. It's no real like I don't think there's really any point of like winning it in terms of point systems to get anywhere. But it's more so like it's fucking phenomenal for the community. I had a ton of fun. Like it's a great time. I love it. I talked to Heather LeBlanc a lot when I was competing. I actually asked her to be on the episode on a podcast eventually, and she said yeah. So fucking love that. And yeah. So anyways, I do Atlantics just to get on the stage to try it out. So I do it. I fucking fall in love. Didn't give a shit about my placement. I think I came 16th out of 32 or something like that. But I think it was like everyone was 16. You know what I mean? So it was like after that. But then like I think 6 months later there was another show, and it was East Coast Classics, and so I got the itch for the competitions. I went on stage once, and then this is where I went absolutely full tilt into competitions. And I really just put my blinders on, listened to my coach, and I ended up winning my class in East Coast Classics, ECC. And I remember when I was standing up stage on there, like I won my class, and I remember they called my number, and I just looked at it, and I didn't even move because I was like, yeah, right, like you're not calling me out. And then they called me out, and I win my class. A battle for overall. I didn't win overall, obviously, because Shadow Danique Scott fucking shredded to the bone. Man, he's a fucking gifted athlete, man. But nonetheless, I had a shit ton of fucking fun, and yeah. So then I compete at one, and then this is kind of when like I kind of like had like a downfall of some sort, and I had a couple options. I didn't plan on ever winning. You know what I mean? Like you just like, and this is when I really started going through some revelations of like disbelief. I started really noticing how bad my mentality was. I started noticing how bad my injuries were as well from like the car accident, because I work my fucking ass off. You give me a plan, I follow it. It's simple, basic math at this point, where it's like you do the cardio, you do the macros, you do the refeeds, you do the cheat days, it's all numbers based in biology, physiology. So you give me a plan, I fucking follow it. And I didn't look the way I wanted to look, and I knew that. And I was like, man, like, so I started second guessing my coach, started second guessing everybody, and I started spiraling, honestly. And I was like, man, like, what the fuck's going on? Like, I know I did cardio at this time, with this heart rate, with this stone, like, you know what I mean? Just trying to think of all these reasons of why I wasn't lean, why like I should have been, or these areas weren't looking the way I did. So honestly, I went down this bad road. I started getting into the bad side of competitions. I started getting into politics and trying to play the game versus like doing it for the fun of it. And I just really started going down a bad road of getting into the wrong crowds. And again, not saying the wrong crowd specifically, because a lot of these people in the competitions, I love my friends, I love my friend group. But like when it came push come to shove, and near the end where we all kind of like not split up, but like we all kind of fist bumped from afar. Like we all know, like, you know what I mean? Some things got too far and too many angles, and it was just time. But that's everybody, like everybody has that start part of their story in their own version, but that's just mine. So I kind of lost myself, and this is kind of like another big turning point for myself. So fast forward a year and a half where I partied for a year straight after I broke my hand, which ended up leading me to having to get a couple hand surgeries where I lost a tendon in my right pinky, and that offset my shoulder girdle and caused caused just a whole fucking train wreck of problems that reactivated stuff from the car accident, trauma from the car accident. I started ego lifting a hell of a lot more to make myself feel better. I tore my left pec. And then in 2017, in 2017, I broke my hand and tore my pec. And then ever since then, that's when I lost myself. That was worse than the car accident, in my opinion, because I won a competition. I was on top of the world. Like I loved everything I was doing. I was so one-sided with it and naive that I just thought I had it all. And I was sitting at home in a shit ton of fucking pain, excruciating pain. My right hand was shattered. My left pec was like non-existent. I was going to the gym 6, 7 days a week. Like everybody knows, I'm in good shape year round typically because it's just my passion. You know what I mean? Like everyone has their other passions or like certain things in their life. Like this is mine. This is my bread and butter. This is my soul. And I had to evolve. I had to figure out what the fuck am I gonna do next because I can't just sit there and just let this shit run me over, right? So this is when I started to take in a hell of a lot of information on YouTube, other case studies, my own research with like physio clinics around here and other rehab, prehab clinics around here, my own books, like a shit ton of books. And like, man, I went into the archives and started searching a shit ton of research on myofascial therapy, trigger point therapy, activation, recovery, because I needed to fix myself. So from 2017 up until like this year, 2022, before I started going on like a heavy fitness journey again, like I honestly just stayed in the house and went to a shit ton of rehab clinics, mainly proactive therapy. Shout out Warren. Like I go to him as often as I can. Like to be completely honest, and whether you believe me or not, I see Warren probably 3 times a year at least, once a week. So I'm talking about like quarterly, I go once every week for a month. And then I'll go bi-weekly for the rest of the year. So I'm going to Warren to get a prehab, rehab activation and that type of training upwards of 30 times a year. And then on top of that, I just started going to Conor McGregor. And I just love saying his full name. It's fucking sick. But I go to him, like right now I'm going bi-weekly as well. So I'm putting a lot of money into like still to this day, fixing myself, stability, proper activation of everything, alignment of the shoulder girdle, the thoracic spine, the lumbar, like, you know what I mean? The hip anatomy, like making sure shit's good. And so that's kind of how I got to where I'm at now. So like pretty much like I kept learning all about the recovery, the myofascial, the trigger points to kind of like get the other aspect of the training that I already had a shit ton of knowledge in. And alongside this, I did a 12-month or a 9-month mentorship for mental health because I never planned on helping people physically with training or nutrition plans, stuff like that. That was always something I just held close to my heart because it just meant a lot to me and it changed me. And I never wanted to like ruin quote unquote my hobby with a job. That's honestly what the story I sold myself for years. So before I start this 9-month mentorship for mental health to fix myself, I'm just kind of chilling, kind of like a little bit lost. And a lot of my motivation to do what I'm doing now actually comes from the support from Emma. And I mean this in like the most sincere way without trying to seem like the sappy couple that gasses each other up and supports each other. But this is just genuine and it just comes from the heart. But when I was lost, kind of figuring my shit out, rehab my body, making sure I'm like just honestly just trying to get as pain free as I possibly could. Because that's another story that I'll talk about down the road of why I got into some things that I shouldn't have gotten into was for the pain tolerance and shit like that. But it was like I remember we just walked in the room during the COVID and like, cause like she was chilling in the bedroom. I was out here probably playing Xbox or something. And like, we probably hung out during the day and she was doing her thing. I was doing mine. And she was like watching a couple people on YouTube and like, just like these influencers and shit. And she's like, why can't we do this? And she just said like, why can't we do this? So that's kind of how the mentorship kind of started. It was like, whoa, I was like, we can kind of do that. So I jumped into something. I knew I wanted to help people, but I didn't want to do fitness. So I jumped into a mental health mentorship because I was like, I'll kill 2 birds in 1 stone. I want to learn how to help people more specifically, like more hands-on mentally. And I want to help myself too, because obviously I'm going through some shit. So I did, so that's what I started last year. It was a big mental health kick. And I wanted to just help people and just kind of be more of a voice of positivity and fix myself. I did a lot, honestly, on Instagram was only probably like 30% of what I actually did behind the scenes to kind of get some shit moving. But through my journey with that is when I realized I had an immense sense of fucking purpose and love and passion for fitness and nutrition. Like, shout out Jared, but one of my boys was like, I always did mental health and I was like really dead set on like helping people fix body dysmorphia, fix their past traumas, come to peace. Honestly, like I literally went through 12 months of creating an online business for mental health. And the whole point of it was to help you find your peace and then help you find your peace within the chaos and then help you go and solidify your purpose. And because that's what I did for myself. And then when an opportunity came up, shout out Jared, he was like, yo, do you want to do this with me? And what it was we had an opportunity to train university athletes. And like, I was like, I can't just give up this mental health stuff. Like, and as much as this is a solid opportunity, like, can we do the mental health with it? And long story short, we battled back and forth. They said yes. So then all of a sudden I have a mental health course, and through talking positivity, helping people around me and everyone reaching for the same rope of elevating each other's lives. All of a sudden we have a handful of university athletes that were training physically, nutrition wise, and we're doing the mental health stuff with it too. So this is where I started getting thrown back into the fitness side of it organically. And after we did that project, like that contract there for a few months, like honestly, the only negative thing I can say is, again, going back to the bodybuilding thing, is bullshit politics and like how people operate as human beings. And that's just to be completely transparent. That's not saying nothing more than what I just said. That's just what it is. But the athletes themselves, fucking loved every single one of them. Hardworking fucking individuals. Every single one of them has a great fucking got a great future on them. I had so much fucking fun. But that's what respect my passion for fitness. And alongside this, my fitness journey personally, I started to rehab my pec. I can start going to the gym now, doing chest, doing more I'm good now. Like I'm starting to be able to run in the gym again, if you will. Like I had to go back to the drawing board. I had to crawl before I could walk before I could jog before I could run. But now I'm going from walking, jogging, running. And then kind of teeter-totter versus those three and finding my gaps, which is where my program is currently. But we trained the university athletes. We did the mental health aspect with them, had a shit ton of fucking fun, got a hell of a lot of fucking feedback. And then that's where I was like, okay, and that was about 9 months ago now. And I was like, okay, so then honestly, I can't even really say much about more than that right now because I have some other projects that are coming out that are related to that. But let's just say that's how I came into the fitness to start going so hard on fitness again, is that I have the confidence within myself for the fitness now. 2, I have found that this is my passion. I have a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience, and I can help a lot of different types of people with their body dysmorphia, their confidence with their food, their confidence with their workout programs, and their overall happiness with life. That's why I like to do the extra mental health portion of it. But that's how I got led up to now. My current program for me personally is more so just like getting my endurance and volume up into the gym, making sure I'm eating an adequate amount of nutrition for the volume, and making sure my stability within my thoracic spine and my hip anatomy is just immaculate. I'm not going back. I have a lot of injuries with a pelvic floor injury, with the hernia. I tore my left pec, my right shoulders, tore that, like the rotator cuff injury from the car accident. Like there's a lot of injuries I have to make sure I'm good for. But I'm very blessed to be able to say that I'm doing what I love. And I'm very excited to announce, if everything goes well, fingers crossed, April 1st, I should have a massive drop for a lot of people to announce exactly what it is I got going on, exactly what I offer, exactly my trajectory of what I want to do and the whole 9 yards. But that is my entire fitness journey. How I went from an insecure little kid playing Call of Duty every day, how I went through this entire experience within the gym, the rehab aspect of it, the competitions. And that's just it. I don't know if I left anything out, but I just know that life is a fucking journey. I never planned on sitting here owning a podcast and talking about my fitness journey because I'm influencing a lot of other people. I never planned on having my own online business. I never planned on operating retail businesses on almost ownership level and being able to be in close contact with very fucking good owners. Like, life is fucking a journey, and there's a lot of negativity that can come out from my fitness journey, but everything happens for a fucking reason with an asterisk. Nicole Handsome, not everything happens for a reason, but some things do. And along my journey, I'm happy to say that if I didn't go through what I went through with the car accident, the hand injuries, the partying years, the myofascial information I had to learn, all of my adversities, I would not be able to help as many individuals with such precision and such confidence without all of that background. So if any of my story has motivated you, I would love for you to reach out. It doesn't have to be on the podcast specifically. If you want to leave a comment or a review, I really, really love it. I appreciate it because we're all our worst enemies. We always think that we're the ones that, I don't want to say have it worse, or like we just get in our ways. You know what I mean? So like my whole fitness journey there, I just assumed everyone else had it similar to me. And I know a lot of people didn't. So if you get any type of inspiration from my journey, please reach out. Let me know. It fuels me up a lot more than you'll ever realize. But I want to let everybody know that if you have any aching injuries or anything that happened to you in the past, any adversities or anything that you think you can't do, It is all a pigment of your imagination. It is all bullshit. There is always a way to move forward. It's just maybe not the way you're looking. Sometimes you got to look backwards. Sometimes you got to move laterally, left and right. Not always does it have to be forward. Just don't forget about where you came from. Make sure you're doing better than yesterday. And that's all it's all about, is incremental changes to make sure that each day you mold your life to the one that you got to get. But stopping is never a fucking option. If you're alive, you're breathing, you're fucking good. There's always an alternative to get better for tomorrow. So I'm going to leave it on that. And that's it. Have a good fucking night. I love you all.